Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. I'm Casey Durango of Go Keto with Crazy. Oh my goodness, with Casey. It's been a long day already. I've packed a lot in. Um, so I hope you are all well, and I hope technology does not fail me today. It is my frenemy, as we know. Have things set up just a little bit differently from a different perspective. This is how I do a lot of my morning snippets for patrons. So hope the new view does not shock you. And let me see, I do want to say a quick hello to people who are here. Brandy Lee and hey, Jennifer, thank you very much. Lori and Robin, thank you. Hey, Lori Markham, are you any relation to Pamela? And good morning to all. So, I don't have my glasses. Dang it. I think that'll be okay. I want to jump right into the topic. First, my little intro. I'm Casey Durango of Go Keto with Casey, where I like to talk about how I've lost 97.4 pounds since starting the ketogenic diet. On my microphone. How you might be able to lose weight, improve your health, and regain control of your life as well. So, it's human nature. If we are overweight, if we're very overweight, kind of overweight, if we've been overweight for a year, if we've been overweight for 30 or 40 or 50 years, human nature that we want the weight off right now for a multitude of reasons. Sometimes we just are uncomfortable in our own skin. It can be for health reasons, whatever it might be, vanity. It doesn't matter what the reasons are. We want it off. And there's a huge diet industry that promises to help you with that. Of course, it's always usually like lose 10 pounds in 6 weeks or your money back. They don't say what happens on the 7th week or the 7th year or how much weight it will be. Question has been posed to me many times. I've lost 97.4 pounds. Yes. And that number has been static for 2 years. I am essentially weight stable. There are minor weight fluctuations. I weigh every day mostly now because I'm curious. I want to see. I would like to lose 2.6 more pounds so I could say I lost 100 pounds since starting the ketogenic diet. I've been told, you've essentially lost 100 pounds, but I would really like to be precise. And I'll get very close. I'll get within 1/10 of a pound. And then it bumps back up a little bit, not much. Anyway, so the question is asked, how long did it take you to lose the weight? Normal question. Because there are so many success stories out there, some of them apocryphal, I must say. Some are just made up. But there are great success stories. People, it's like the fat melts off of them as if they were a mold of Kerrygold butter in the North Carolina heat. Didn't happen that way for me. And I didn't expect it to. For those of you who don't know, I did not start this protocol, the ketogenic protocol, which, in case you don't know, as I learned it and followed it, keeping carbohydrate intake to 20 grams or fewer a day, total carbs, not net. Eat fatty sources of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry, and stop when you're satiated. That's the sum total of the protocol. My daughter, who was just visiting, said, Mommy, when you write your book, you should just write a 25-page book because you don't need to say too much more than about 25 pages worth of what to do about this protocol because that's it. Actually, it would be, one paragraph. And then the rest would be talking about how we deal with changes. Anyway, I started this because I didn't want to take insulin for diabetes. That was it. I had been really heavy for 30 years. You can go to my blog and see my before photos. By the way, I just rehabbed my blog. I got tired of the way it looked, so I refreshed it. I didn't expect to lose weight. So the weight I lost was a happy surprise. The first year, and I'm 5'1", so imagine that's 61 inches of vertical height. I've lost 97.4 pounds. Imagine that much weight on 61 inches. That's more than a pound of vertical height per inch. First year, I lost 47 pounds. That is, on average, less than a pound a week. And that was wonderful to me. It was a wonder, hence wonderful. I was so pleased. I felt so much better almost immediately. Over the next 2 years, I lost the next 50 pounds. So do the math, right? I'm a normal loser. I was not a slow loser. I was a normal, thrilled loser. A woman asked me one time, how long did it take to lose the weight? And I said, about 3 years. She said, well, that was not very fast. And my contrarian self blurted back, well, how much weight have you lost in 3 years? Crickets. There was silence. And I was still 3 years older either way. What do I care how long it took? Why should we care? Because if we stop thinking about this as a weight loss protocol, which it's not, it's a fat burning protocol. Well, why would you want to do it if you're not going to lose weight? Well, because you can lose weight, but also it's anti-inflammatory. You can come off of medications. It is the way to deal with type 2 diabetes. By the way, if you are currently taking insulin for type 2 diabetes, you must do this under a doctor's care. You must. There's no negotiating on that. Because if you cut back, restrict your carbohydrate intake and you're taking insulin, you actually literally can go into hypoglycemia, which is very dangerous. So how long to lose the weight? It depends on who you are, how conscientious you are about following the protocol, how much weight you have to lose, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I do want to, my eye has been caught by, thank you, Macbeth. Oh, Macbeth, you are so kind. Thank you for the Canadian $5 super chat. Yes, finally, I have arrived at the appointed time. And Macbeth, you're a patron. So patrons, and I will give a little plug later for patrons, I have a Patreon account where I think this month I'm doing 8 patron-only live streams, which are very similar to this, except mostly everyone's talking to each other and I just join in the conversation. So thank you, and glad to see you here, Macbeth. And you always write the most wonderful things on Patreon. So how long will it take? Here's what I think is good advice. Don't worry about how long it's going to. If you've been fat for 25 years, what makes you think that you're going to correct 25 years of habits and insulin resistance and inflammation and the emotional component of eating food and the emotional component of being overweight? What makes you think you're going to correct that in 3 months? And really, if someone tells you you're going to lose 75 pounds, you go, yes. And it'll take you 1.5 years to do it, or 2 years. Or you can say, well, forget it. I don't want to lose 75 pounds if it's going to take 2 years. Forget about it. No, I think you would say, yes, please. How do I do that? Yes, please. Stick with the protocol. The people with whom I speak, who are the most successful, and I will say this includes me, because I talk to myself a lot, just didn't play around with the protocol. You can see the food list I followed. It's not the food list I invented. It's the food list I followed. It's at my blog. You are welcome to look at it. There are, 157 billion versions of so-called keto food lists. I followed the one that does not have nuts or nut flours or MCT oil or bulletproof coffee or fat bombs or talking. Here's the protocol. Keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer a day, total not net. Eat fatty sources of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop when you're satiated. There's nothing talking about grams of protein or grams of fat. There's nothing about a pie chart, the so-called M word. There's nothing about calories, which I will not call the C word for obvious reasons. But I try to not talk about calories because it's not part of the protocol. If you follow the protocol, your appetite is naturally suppressed and you end up consuming less food. But beyond that, you start burning fat for fuel. You become a fat burner as opposed to a sugar or glucose burner. other things happen. Glucose, for me, makes me feel bad when I'm burning glucose for fuel and my insulin, is being all over the verstunken place. I don't feel so good. There's my old guy, Atticus. Sorry, Atticus. The collar of shame. He's 15 and a half years old. And he's just he's not an anxious old guy, but anyway, we just try to make him comfortable. Anywho, how long will it take? Don't know. If you don't follow the protocol, it's going to take a long time. If you if you do it and then say, well, I'm going to shake things up and I'm going to have a so-called cheat day. I'm going to carb up one day. Well, so if that works for you, fantastic. But don't blame keto for what the carb up day did. Don't blame keto for what the almond flour did. Don't blame keto for what the net carbs did, or the fake baked goods, or the pie chart. Don't eat if you're not hungry is probably the most integral part of this. And because our hunger maybe is a true hunger is a sensation we haven't felt maybe ever in our lives, our brain's telling us to eat something because we're sugar burners and our brain needs more glucose because glucose can't be stored in the blood. And our brains are burning glucose. When they're burning glucose, we need to get more glucose. When we're a fat burner, our brains are happy to burn ketones for fuel. And we've got plenty of fat on our bodies, right? Even trim people do. If we can change our mindset from I want immediate gratification, immediate gratification is what got many of us here in the first place. Trust the process. Do you really care if it's going to take 4 years to lose 100 pounds? No, I wouldn't. If someone had told me you're going to lose 50 pounds and it'll take a little over a year, I would have said, where do I write the check? I'm happy to write that check if you can guarantee it. And if you follow the protocol, it's a pretty good chance. Don't play. If something works for you, if you take I don't know, if you're a recovering alcoholic, but you decide that once a month you're going to go on a bender, you can't turn around and say, if you decide to go on a bender, you can't turn around and say, you know what, recovery doesn't work. Well, it does if you don't decide to drink alcohol. If you stick with the program, if you don't choose to eat cookies and cake and pasta and bread, and it'll work. The thing is, it's not even that hard. I told myself for many years, because I knew low carb would work for me. I would say, well, I'm not going to go the rest of my life without eating tortilla chips. I can't do that. I love tortilla chips. And my husband makes wonderful salsa. So I couldn't give up tortilla chips until I did. And now you could serve me a basket of Pebbles. And I would be, no, I don't mean Pebbles, the cereal. I mean rocks. You could serve a basket of rocks. And I would be no more interested in eating it than I am in tortilla chips. People find that hard to believe. But back to the point. How long will it take? It takes as long as it takes. Do you really care? Do you really care? The thing is, the weight is one thing. The health is another. What if someone says, you can come off of your medications for XYZ, for acid reflux, for diabetes, for high blood pressure, for migraine, for thyroid issues. If you can come off of all of those medications, are you going to say, Yeah, okay, that's great. But how much weight will I lose and how fast? I think you want to come off the medications. If you have chronic pain and someone says, if you follow this protocol, your pain may very well subside. You can say, well, okay, but what if, but how long will it take for me to lose 25 pounds? Let's adjust our goals here. The weight will come off. It will. Follow the protocol. But let's adjust our priorities. And then you're going to live your life anyway, right? If you're fortunate enough to live for the next 3 years, do you want to say, well, I don't want to spend that much time losing weight. I just want to keep on doing what I've been doing, making me feel miserable. I want to keep trying the things that never worked for me before. I think I'll re-up for Weight Watchers one more time. I know I've done it 17 times, but maybe this time will be different. Do what you want to do. There are many ways to success. For me, this is what worked. Okay, I am going to turn to the wonderful people who have joined in here. Thank you very much. And let me see, does anyone have a question? Okay, Macbeth writes, it took me 4 months to lose my first 3 pounds, and I decided to be thrilled with that. I feel amazing, and I'm no longer controlled by food. My best-selling t-shirt and mug, food is not the boss of me. I have pop sockets that you can put on the back of your phone. Food is not the boss of me. That's a victory. From spending the bulk of our days thinking about food, thinking about how to prepare it, what to buy, what'll be the next meal. Even as we're eating one plate of food, we're thinking about the next. I don't think about food. Hollyhock says, I don't have the energy they say you get. I plan on sticking with it at least till June when I have my next blood test. Pain is better on keto. So the pain is better. That's great. Now, Hollyhock, when you say that, my son just texted me, one of our sons, that you don't have the energy. If you're feeling kind of lethargic, you don't say how long you've been on the protocol. If you're feeling kind of lethargic, maybe even a little headachy or icky, some people think that is because you've eliminated carbs, but only downstream. Often that is because you need to up your sodium intake. If you do not have sodium-sensitive hypertension, Dr. Stephen Phinney recommends 5 grams of sodium a day. The reason being this will flush a lot of water out of your system, and it's not just the first week it does that. With the water goes sodium. With sodium go other minerals, mostly magnesium. It's very unusual to have potassium deficiency. But just the sodium itself, the sodium, when your sodium is washed out, your blood volume actually decreases. You can kind of feel, you're left feeling kind of like you would be with low blood pressure. So a quick fix for that, some cheap bouillon. Lee Jeffries writes, like Casey, I would eat tortilla chips, but not because of the tortilla, because of the salt. The ones without the salt gave you no appeal. It's interesting, the things, I have a salt tooth, much more than a sweet tooth. Okay, and y'all are talking to each other. I really started keto in September. I've lost 60 pounds. Congratulations. That's so fantastic. April Biggert writes, thank you, Casey. Food is not the boss of me any longer. This 13 days of keto, and I'm learning to feel true hunger. See, 2 weeks can change your life. A week can change your life. Actually, your hunger, if you stick with it, don't ease into it. Ease into it if you wish. But if you follow the protocol, I just want to make sure my son's okay. He is. Keep your carbohydrate intake 20 grams or fewer a day. What does that look like? 20 grams. We know what a pound of butter looks like because that's how it comes. Most carbohydrates are going to come from vegetables. By the way, vegetables are not required. There's no minimum amount, no matter what you might hear, even of leafy greens. Carbohydrate is not an essential macronutrient. My husband is out of the country for the rest of the month, and I probably won't have any vegetables. There's a cucumber in my fridge right now, and it might It might go to the compost heap unless I decide to eat it. Anyway, 20 grams of carbs. If you maximum about a cup of non-starchy vegetables pre-cooked, which is about the size of your fist, and about 2 cups of leafy greens, about the size of 2 fists, maximum a day. That'll get you to 10, 12, 13 grams of carbohydrate. But you don't even need those. And that's it. Then eat fatty sources of protein, a bit of dairy, not unlimited. Just eat the fat that comes with the protein. Eat the eggs with the yolks. The steak with the fat. Get a ribeye or a chuck roast, not a filet mignon. Actual bacon with the fat. Pork chops with the fat. Poultry with the skin. Dark meat is higher in fat than white meat. There you go. Oh, okay. So thank you, Nancy. You're responding to Hollyhock, who must have shared how much she lost in how much time. So, and this is one of the wonderful things, particularly about Patreon, is there's an actual community there. So I'm going to give a real quick shout out to Patreon because, frankly, I continue to provide free content because to whom much is given, much is expected. But patrons make it possible for me to have left my former career, which I had for 30 years, and do this because I think it's a very important message. There is nothing you need to purchase to be 100% successful at this protocol, contrary to what you see and hear, and contrary to what people try to sell you. Not one thing. You don't even need a measuring cup. About one fist of non-starchy vegetables and about 2 fists of leafy greens. Don't even need a measuring cup maximum. You don't need testing supplies, although if they are tools that work for you, fantastic. I prefer the Keto Mojo, which tests beta hydroxybutyrate. Contrary to what you hear, none of these test ketones. Urine strips test acetoacetate, which is a byproduct of burning ketones for fuel. Beta hydroxybutyrate is measured through glucometers, blood testing machines, which is a byproduct of burning fat for fuel. And acetone is measured through the breath, acetone being a byproduct of burning ketones for fuel. You don't need any testing supplies. If you find them useful, great. But don't stress out over it. How do you know if you're in ketosis, which means you're burning fat for fuel? One of the first things is you lose your appetite. You say, wow, I didn't even think about eating. It's 2:30 in the afternoon, and I forgot to eat. I know the first time that I realized that I had not thought about eating. It was a red letter day for me because I used to think all the time about food. Like I said, I would be crying while I was eating in secret, thinking of not wanting to eat. Why am I doing this? And still thinking about the next thing I was going to eat. You go from that to forgetting to eat, that you didn't even think about eating. It's fantastic. Oh, hey, Jennifer. Oh, Jennifer writes, already a patron. I have coffee with you every morning. We, for those of you who don't know, at the lowest pledge level, I think it's $2 a month. I do about 20 videos a month, sitting right here with poor lighting, pillow hair, pre-coffee, and I just talk for about 8 to 15 minutes. And I do that 20 times a month. And then it goes up from there to patron-only live streams, behind the scenes, discounts for a particular swag. I'm going to start doing podcasts. And I think the $5 people are going to get patron podcasts and patron-only video group sessions and monthly one-on-ones with me. So there's that. Hey, Martha Moon just popped in from Colorado. Hi, Maria. Hola. Show us your fridge so I can get a better understanding. You mean what's inside my fridge? No, I won't right now, actually, because I'm doing this. But I can tell you what's inside my fridge. A whole bunch of diet tonic water, This is hashtag Casey's Pink Drink, which is, I start out with a glass heaped with ice about up to here of diet tonic water and a splash of diet cranberry juice and a wedge of lime. There's a whole bunch of diet tonic water, diet cranberry juice, a jar of mayonnaise, dog food. I make my dog's food. My eggs, about 7 types of cheese, bacon, breakfast link sausages, pepperonis, and 1 cucumber. That's pretty much it. In my freezer is a whole bunch of frozen meat. Off all of my medications for migraines. Sue Bradley writes, I don't know how, I've had migraine before. They kind of petered off for me in my early 40s. I don't know how people who have migraine and must work outside the home, how they function. Terrible. What kind of mayonnaise do you use? And what type of sausages? Well, I've made mayonnaise myself. I have a video about making mayonnaise. It's pretty simple. I just got out of the habit of doing it. We had chickens, and we now have baby chicks, which we'll restock our flock. But we had chickens at the time, so we were overrun with eggs. So I was doing everything I could with eggs. Making mayonnaise is easy, but frankly, I have a jar of Duke's mayonnaise from Costco in my fridge. And sausages, the breakfast link sausages are Smithfield. And then I have sausage patties, which I keep in the freezer, which are Goolsby's, Goolsby', also from Costco. Patricia Harrington, Casey, I need to do this. Well, you can do that. Kelly Colson writes, give Atticus CBD oil, helps with anxiety. Store-bought ranch suggestions when I ate salads, which I don't really anymore. Just Hidden Valley Ranch. Although I also it's really easy to make ranch. It's sour cream, mayonnaise, a little bit of vinegar, seasonings. That's it. I'll tell you a place to go for really good basic recipes. Linda's Low Carb. It is old school. It is not fancy. But it is really helpful. So she has a recipe for ranch dressing. Seriously, it is that easy. Might be a little cream in it. But Hidden Valley. Is Duke's in California? I don't know. I tend to think it's a southern thing. So I don't know. Does any, I also do want to point out that we are going to have a fun time coming up. We had a great time on the Go Keto with Casey ... the cruise. In March, we went to the Western Caribbean, and we've got another one coming up in 2020, sailing in July out of Seattle. So there's a link to my blog. You can go to the Alaska Cruise tab, and we've got, I don't know how many people have. But the contact information for the travel consultant is there. You must book through her for us to get our group perks. But we're going to have a good time. And the days at sea are going to be really cool. And it's going to be, the attendees are going to be the stars of the show. We're going to have presentations from people who are just starting, people who've had tremendous success. There's a woman going to be there who's lost 211 pounds. I've spoken to her almost since day one. She is fantastic. Everyone's going to fall in love with this woman. And she shares, I just talked with her a couple of weeks ago, that she never would have considered going on a cruise. She's never been on a cruise before. But by gum, she's going on this cruise because she's gotten her life back. It's going to be great. My husband and I are booked. We are going to be in stateroom 1533, Aqua class. So we're going to have a good time. Trying to find Linda's Low Carb, just Google Linda's Low Carb. And it comes up as like ginaw.com. Let me see if I can find the link for that. And I'll put it on there. Yeah, it comes up as a funny. Here we go. Really old school. It's been around, I think, since the 90s. Oh, clicked the wrong thing. Hold, please. Wow, Nancy writes 114 pounds gone, stopped losing for quite a while, but inches were still coming off. Scales were started to reflect losing again. Great, feeling great, body is just adjusting. I just wrote a blog post about how about we step away from the scale. Let's make the scale be the last measure of our success because losing inches without losing ounces is a thing. Not only that, but sometimes the numbers that we have in our mind are so arbitrary. What would we do if the scale had never been invented? If we never knew how much we weighed? Wouldn't that be blissful? I know it's hard. It's hard to get away from that. I'd like to go, but I'm single. Any other singles going? Yes. As a matter of fact, Holly Hop, there are people looking for cabin mates to help defray costs. So if you contact Lisa, and the contact information is on the cruise page at my blog, she and I both have a list. So there are people actively looking for cabin mates. The thing is, you have to agree on what level of service and cost you want. So. Sharon Martin writes, been keto for 8 months, UK size 22, now 16, still going, never weighed myself, don't care. It's my body that's changing. That's fantastic. Some people never weigh. I weigh every day, but it's my practice and it serves me. And I've been doing it since December 18th, 2000, way before keto. It did not serve me well. I was just kind of a masochist on those days. We shouldn't let an inanimate object that we paid for ruin our day. Use a full-length mirror, not the scale, writes Lee Jeffries. Hey, Vita. So many patrons here. Thank you. 4 months and 3 days in, the energy just kicked in. 48.6 pounds gone and feeling great. That's fantastic. Listen to our bodies. Our bodies talk to us. Our bodies talk to us. By the time we have type 2 diabetes and joint pain and high blood pressure and eczema and irritable bowel syndrome, our bodies are shouting at us because we've ignored it for too long. Listen to our bodies. Our bodies want to be fueled this way. Our bodies want to burn fat for fuel. There's no downside to it. None. There's no downside to it. It's just food. And it is the fuel we were designed to consume. Patricia, should we take vitamins? I don't. This is a very nutrient-dense way to eat. Maybe when you're a sugar burner and you're trying to live off of carbohydrates, which are not nutrient-dense, yeah, we need to supplement. The only supplement I take is slow-release magnesium. I take 3 a day, and it's just the easiest thing to stave off nighttime leg cramps for me. My husband takes nothing, and he's on this protocol. He never had a weight problem, but he wanted the health benefits. He never had a health problem, but he saw the change in me, and he heard the lectures I did because I played them on our big TV as I was researching. I never really followed anyone else's channels. I was not that interested in anyone else's experience. I was interested in, really? This works? Are you a legitimate person telling me this, doctor? If the doctor's looking right in the camera at you with a whiteboard behind him with the products that he can sell you, please be careful of your source of information. There's no product you need to purchase. Some people need support because the food is easy. When in our group sessions, on my one-on-ones, I do coaching through my blog. After the first visit, we almost never talk about food. Food is the easy part. It's on the list. Just eat fatty sources of protein. But then it's the other things like people whose relationships change with you. They're not supportive of you after you lose the first 20 pounds or so. Personal relationships change. People have trouble accepting the new you. Why do we self-sabotage? How do we get through our stress without turning to food, which we always turned to before? So that's what we talk about. So some people need support. But you don't need to buy a product. You don't even need to buy a food is not the boss of me mug or a pop socket or a t-shirt. You don't need to buy one thing. Just leave off the carbs. Jennifer writes, I think support is so important. Casey, I take meds in the morning for high blood pressure and for my heart. I get nauseous in an hour or so after taking them. Should I eat something or drink something? Some days are worse than others. April, I cannot speak to that. I'm not a medical provider nor a researcher, and you're going to have to ask your doctor about that. I don't know, but if you do, you can just make it a fatty source of protein. Eat, if it's an absorption issue, and that's why the nausea, maybe you can just eat, have a boiled egg. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. I got my hubby to at least stop drinking sugary soda pop. He's lost 5 pounds in a month just from that. Good for you. Good for him. Oh, and Nancy B writes, Happy Mother's Day to all moms, mom substitutes, and those special ladies in our lives. Thank you. Okay, let's start to wind down. And thank you so much for joining in. I don't know. Alexa just wanted to say something to me, I think. I don't know what that was all about. Have a great weekend. Thank you to patrons. Y'all are great. Thank you to everyone here for the super chats. And God willing, and the creek don't rise, I'll be back next Saturday and we'll continue to do this type of thing. But reach out for support if you need it. If start a support group in your area. By the way, I'm having a Go Keto with Casey meetup in Greensboro Monday evening at 6:30 p.m. to 7:30ish, 6:15 p.m. to 7:30ish at Wine Styles at Friendly Center. It's half price wine by the glass, and we just sit around and talk. But start a support group in your place. Stick a index card on a bulletin board at the library or community center. Go to a coffee shop, go to a library, go to a park. It's good to know that there are other people dealing with things. And that's one of the things we're going to do on the cruise. We're going to have breakout sessions, things that have worked for other people, things that have not worked. I think we're going to have a clothing exchange because clothes are a big deal as you lose weight and you realize that you're swimming in your clothes. And you can go through them quickly. So, I'm going to encourage people to bring a piece or 2 or 3 of clothing, and we'll just exchange them. What is now too large for you might be perfect for someone who is in their journey. Okie dokie. Thank you. Thank you very much. And keep it real, okay? How much will you lose? How long will it take? Don't know. It'll go faster if you stick with the protocol. If you kind of come in and out of it, might take a whole long time. If you're feeling discouraged, maybe don't look at other people's stories. Ultimately, your story is the only one relevant to you. What happened with someone else, to me, to your cousin, it's what you're experiencing that is ultimately important. Okay? So have a great weekend. Keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer a day, total, not net. Eat fatty sources of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry, and stop when you're satiated. Those last two parts are harder than the others, but it is doable. Okay? Ciao, Bella.